When a large secondary like Hodge Hill School in Birmingham has over 1,200 pupils and 150 staff, you'd expect the business manager to be pretty busy, but perhaps not as busy as Matthew Wheeler.
Through to Matthew, how can I help? Hi, through to Matthew, how can I help? Good morning, you're through to Matthew, how can I help?
Matthew's long-suffering colleague Julie explains.
He's extremely busy, extremely popular with all the staff. Any of the smallest little niggles they've got, they seem to come to Matthew to ask him for any assistance or advice.
I need to come and see you later, but I'll pop up to you when you're less busy.
Yeah, no, that's fine, just come up. My
Okay,
office
then.
is your office, you know.
To be honest, I hardly ever see him in the office. He's in and out all the time. And he's one of these people who never says no to anybody. Feel sorry for his family really, because he never gets to see them. And that's Matthew. Crazy man.
I contacted Teachers TV for help because I feel that my workload is growing and growing, and whilst I enjoy the challenge of doing it, I'm aware that there's very little more I can take on now, and yet there still seems so much more to do. Since I started at the school 2 years ago, I've hit a personal obstacle and can't seem to drive forward. So I've got an increasing sense that things are beginning to go wrong because we've got ambitious improvements and I simply don't have the time to do it. I'd like, as a result of this programme, to feel that the burden is lifted somewhat from my shoulders, that the job that I am doing are the ones that really matter. And I go home at the end of each day or the end of each week with a sense that I've achieved what I need to achieve, rather than a sense of lots of little jobs being done and the strategic stuff going undealt with.
As Matthew struggles with organisation, we've organised for our expert life coach Gladina McMahon to visit Matthew and see if she can offer some much needed help.
Hi Matthew, I'm Gladina.
Hello, Gladina.
Oh wow.
Sorry, You're through to Matthew. Look, I've just actually got a visitor come to see me at the moment. Can I call you back in half an hour? Okay, cheers. Sorry, going all the time, phone in here, people coming through the door. It's quite typical.
Well, if that's the case, could we go somewhere quieter maybe?
The school library's quite quiet at this point in the day.
Oh, well, lead the way.
Okay. Do you want to leave your coat here?
Great idea.
I'll escape before the phone rings again.
Well, Matthew, tell me, what are your challenges in this school?
The challenge is one of fitting everything in to the working day. Mm-hmm. There's a lot to be done and only a very small number of hours in which to do it. Mm-hmm. I'm not alone in taking work home with me here. All of the leadership team here work through their lunches. Mm-hmm. Quite a lot of the support staff do as well. Mm-hmm. And the work seems never ending.
What does your role actually entail?
As the school's business manager, I lead the support staff here. Mm-hmm. We have a team of 65 people, including classroom assistants, reprographics technicians, librarians, etc. Via a middle management structure, I directly line manage about 25 of those staff. And also have responsibility for the grounds, the catering and the cleaning contracts. Mm-hmm. Although those personnel aren't employed by the school, I'm responsible then for another 35 to 40 staff on top of that. I am the member of the leadership team responsible for coordinating and delivering all of the non-teaching services that back up a busy urban secondary school.
That sounds like a huge number of people to manage.
It is. It's a large team, and it's quite a diverse team as well. I've been around long enough now that I'm seen as the the first port of call for what do we do with this.
Mm-hmm. If we think about your role and all the things that you do, what do you think you're not doing as well as you would like to?
I think that I'm not actually managing my time or my workload. It's managing me. Mm-hmm. I achieve a lot of what I want to do during the working week, but some of the things that don't get done are the things that are not immediately important, but in the longer term really, really need to be done. We've been sacrificing training and developing the middle managers here in order just to keep the school running and get stuff done on a daily basis. Then a lot of the work that I do, I'll take stuff home in order to work through it and to get it done. And that has the advantage that I can work uninterrupted, because I can get 2 hours in of an evening without phone calls, interruptions or the door opening. But that means that the children and the family are suffering because I've got work at home with me and piles of stuff. Don't touch that, that's Daddy's, leave it alone, because it's paperwork for school, etc.
You are quite a fast thinker, aren't you, Matthew? I mean, I kind of sort of noticed that you can and you have the ability to jump from subject to subject very quickly.
Yes, and it's why I enjoy the job that I do. I will go in the course of one working day from looking at photocopier contracts to discussing menus with the chef, to doing a personnel review, to meeting with a parent, supervising pupils as part of corridor duty, etc. So each working day I wear several hats.
And that's perhaps one of the upsides of the job, but also one of the challenges. Okay, well, I think you've given me quite a bit to think about. But you know what I'd really like to do? I'd like to come and shadow you for a while. So shall we go back to your office?
Okay, fine.
Okay, you lead the way.
All right, okie dokie. I'll come and help. So, where are you at the moment? Okay, cheers. Right, Julie. I've got a pupil who's been injured during a PE lesson. I need to go out and just have a look and make sure that's being dealt with properly. The rest of the leadership team are actually teaching, which means that I now need to go and respond because, of course, I don't have a teaching load. So I'm able to drop what I'm doing and go and do it.
That's not a great idea. I know it has to be done, but I have to say that if that's a sample of the way that Matthew gets interrupted, I'm amazed he gets anything done.
The City Council said that they will make training available to lunchtime supervisors for free. So we'll just find out who's after me now. You're through to Matthew, how can I help? Okay. Cheers, Claire. And they've gone.
And they're gone.
So in dealing with one issue,
You lose the
I've now lost the other. Yeah, I think it needs more than a bit of super glue. Have the site staff been to look at it?
May I have the use of your photocopier?
Of course you can, sir.
Thank you very
Help
much.
yourself. Face up.
Is that why I've got a blank piece of paper?
Yeah, because you photocopied the back. You've got a perfect copy of the back of the piece of paper. Gary, are the wasps actually alive? Is the nest active? Thousands of them. Alright, okay, fine. I'll meet you around there. So when are pest control coming up?
Sometime this afternoon, that's it.
Sometime this afternoon. Are wasps chargeable, do we know? I think they are.
I think they are, yeah.
Yeah, fine.
How long has it taken you to get back to this point?
Well, I think probably about 10 minutes.
No, more like 30.
Are you serious?
I'm serious, more like 30 minutes, and guess what? Have you had that conversation you needed to have?
No, not yet.
Matthew, I don't know about you, but it seems to me we've done an awful lot of walking around corridors. How about if you and I go and find somewhere quiet to have a chat?
Good idea.
Lead the way. Well, Matthew, thank you very much for letting me spend today with you. I have to admit my feet are sore. I've followed you here, there and everywhere, and I've just kind of realised what a challenge you really are up against with the interruptions and the phone calls. Typical, isn't it, today for you?
Yes, it is. It's been a fairly typical day. People phoning me up, emails coming in that need to be responded to, people then actually coming into the office, or then catching me out and about school whilst I'm walking around.
And I think the thing that struck me is, you know, your personality type is someone who loves that kind of pressure. You're very quick thinking. In fact, possibly a little too quick thinking. Because I think what may happen is that you don't give yourself enough time to consider the best type of response, because you're very reactive in in what you do. Something happens, so you do it. What I have noticed is that you don't delegate enough. You automatically take on a task just because someone's asked you to do it. And actually, you've now got to the point where if you continue to do that, it can only get worse. And it's not really probably your best management strategy, because you do have a team. I mean, today, for example, when I asked you about one of the issues, you said, well, it's easier for me to deal with it.
Yes.
That's not a good answer. You need to be the right person for them to get hold of, not the easiest. Now, my guess is because you are so readily available to everyone, people have come to think of you as the sort of all-seeing fountain of knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's a compliment to you, but it's also a millstone round your neck. I'm thinking maybe the first thing that I'd like to suggest for you is for you to stand back, think about all the members in your team, have discussions with each of them about the kind of responsibilities they could take off you. And I think that's really important. And secondly, you have a lot of people to manage. What I'd like you to do is to actually schedule in what may seem like time you cannot spend at the moment, but I think will reap rewards in the longer term. I want to actually have a one-to-one meeting with each of these people, your key people, about what's working well, what isn't working well, how you can maybe improve the system, what things they can take on, what things should come to you. And thirdly, the last thing, it's a very simple word, and I know it goes against the grain, but I want you to start to say no. It's something I've picked up walking around the school, that people say, Matthew never says no.
That is something I find very difficult to say. It's not instinctive to me. If a job can be done, then to my mind it should be done. And if I can do it, therefore I should do it.
Well, do you see that there's a fault in that kind of logic? After all, I could say to you, my house needs cleaning, Matthew. Would you like to come and do it?
See, there's a part of me that would actually say yes.
Oh, come on, give you the address and you can come over.
All right, I'll start now. No.
But do you see the dilemma that you're in?
Yes.
And it will get worse. So please, if you don't take action now, in another year, there'll be an extra percentage on your shoulders, and another year after that, another percentage. And the fear I have for you is that what could then happen is that not only could you become severely stressed, personally, but you'll become so disillusioned with the deluge that you cannot fulfill in terms of requests, you'll leave. And that's the worst thing that could happen to this school, because you are an incredibly valuable asset.
It's nice to hear somebody say that.
So, Matthew, how do you think you're going to cope with all this?
I think I've got to sit down and to spend some time thinking and to actually work out what tasks should I be doing, what tasks should I perhaps be delegating or doing in a different way. I need to spend some time with my middle managers and talk to them, perhaps be brave enough to say to them, okay, how do you think I work? What improvements could I make? And I think I need to not be so guilt-ridden or afraid of actually moving tasks into their remit, because it's not me unable to do my work, it's me concentrating on actually doing the more important stuff and also giving them opportunities to grow and develop.
Well, Matthew, thanks for a great day. It's really been an experience. And the next time I come back, I want to see a Matthew who says no and delegates a bit more.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, as we leave Matthew to catch up with his work, hopefully for the last time, let's take the opportunity to see how another teacher from last year's series of Ease the Load is doing.
Well, you might remember Tony Curtis from last year. He was the lovely classroom assistant who just was running around left, right and centre, never had any time for his family, and he felt pretty bad about that. Well, let's watch and see what it was like for him then.
Tony Curtis from King Edmund Community School in Bristol couldn't find time to take breaks due to the heavy workload he created for himself. This often left him exhausted and unable to find quality time to spend with his family. So we sent in Gladina to give his time management the once-over.
When we were talking earlier, one of the things that you were saying was you really wanted to create time so that you would get a lunch break and also minimise the amount of time that you're doing work outside of school. So I'm going to set you this challenge. I want you for 3 days, and pick any 3 days you like, I want you to take all your breaks for 3 days every week.
Gladina also suggested he set up a system to manage his work, so he created a database. However, there seemed to be some confusion when it came to the second part of his task.
3 breaks a week?
3 breaks a week.
I think we might have a little bit of a misunderstanding. It was 3 days of full breaks.
Was it?
Yes.
I thought it was 3 breaks.
So do you think that's given you the confidence to maybe now, you know, be able to go back and think, well, I can double that?
Yes, that would be the next challenge.
Well, here I am a year on at King Edmunds to see Tony Curtis. Now, it sounds like break time to me, so let's go see whether he's taking his breaks or not. Has he gone back to his old ways? So, Tony, it really is nice to see you after all this time. But, you know, the one thing I'm really, really intrigued about, because we talked about a lot last year, including your misunderstanding about breaks. Are you getting your breaks in?
Yeah, a lot more than I used to.
Uh-huh.
And those I'm not getting, I'm choosing not to take, so that's the main difference, I think.
Obviously, there will be times you choose not to, but as long as you're getting those breaks in, because you didn't think you could do it before, did you?
No, I mean, last year was manic with pressure and work and stuff, but the 2 things you came up with the database and the just take the breaks, you know. And at the time, I thought the database was the best idea. Organise my work, you know, make it structured, eliminate waste time. But going through the year, that's kind of like taking the back seat, and it's kind of the change of the mindset. Okay, well, no, I'm going to take my break.
It's your commitment to yourself.
It is, yeah.
But you see, that's an interesting point, because the database was only actually a tool to get you to realise that you could do it. Okay, because you weren't going to do it. You were like, no, I can't. So we had to come up with something. Now, the database was probably useful for a short while, but once you got your head into the right space, it was a case of, well, actually, I'll just take it.
It was, yeah. It was exactly that.
So if there's anything that you've learnt, what is it?
I guess the main thing I learned was, if you're going to run yourself into the ground, then you're not doing anyone any favours, and your work's going to suffer as well as home life. You know, if you need to take breaks, then take them.
So, in terms of where you are now, I mean, are there any things at the moment that you would say that, you know, sort of all that's kind of helped, but maybe there are some things that, you know, are still a bit of a challenge for you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, some of the things that were maybe last year will follow along the same sort of mindset. If you say you can't do it, then you can't. You know, you say you can, and you will.
Do you know, I'm smiling because that is so the core of all this. You know, there's an old saying, and that is, if you can talk yourself into something, you can talk yourself out of it. And that's exactly what you're talking about, which is once you've got the mindset of taking control, actually, you can turn your mind to anything. And that doesn't mean it's easy. And it doesn't mean you always have great choices. Sometimes there's a choice between 2 not so good things. But you still have a choice. But, you know, I'm just smiling because that is so true. You know, if you think you can do it, you'll make it happen.
That's right, yeah. That's what I found.
Well, this is the start of my video diary. Gladina's gone. She's left me with a lot to think about. All sorts of ways of reflecting on my role. Some of it's quite tough to think about whether it should be me that's actually doing stuff. I think saying no could be the biggest challenge, but we'll see how we get on. Right, I've met with my team, told them that I'm going to be looking at ways of delegating down to them, and asked them for their input on jobs that I can share with them. It was an interesting meeting because actually quite a lot of them were desperate to get their hands on some of the responsibility that I've had, and it turns out that I've been a bit of a block in the decision-making process at school, so we'll see how it goes. I've agreed with them some things that they will now be doing, and yeah, should be alright. Well, I just got back from the school's presentation evening. It's quite late at night, but it's been a really good evening. We planned it all in advance. I cleared my in tray of everything except the stuff for presentation evening. I'm really pleased. I think all the pupils who were there were pleased. And it's gone really, really well. Everyone who was there said that it was a fantastically well-planned event. So, job well done. Can have a cup of coffee now and go to sleep.
So it's back to Birmingham for Gladina. Has Matthew taken her advice to heart or put it on the back burner like everything else?
Hi, Matthew.
Hello.
Gosh, it's a bit different. It's quiet in here.
It's a lot quieter around here these days. Take your coat off and I'll tell you why.
Well, Matthew, it's been a little bit of time since I was here, and the last time I was here you were running around like the proverbial headless chicken. And when I left, there was a few strategies I left you with, so how's it been going?
Well, I think the one that was going to be hardest for me was saying no. But actually that's one of the ones that I've found easiest. I've started to look at my daily workload, I've started to look at the plans and the tasks for the coming week and thought, which of this should I be doing? And if it's something I shouldn't be doing, then I've thought, which of my team of managers can I actually delegate this to? I think the hardest thing was the task to go away and talk to them about which bits of my job I could get them to be doing. Because I actually went away and asked for some feedback from them. And so some of the answers were quite difficult, but the bits that I concentrated on are actually the bits that I disagreed most with, because I think that's probably where my blind spot is. So I've concentrated on my blind spots and begun to share responsibility with them. I certainly feel that I'm no longer the blockage in the decision-making process. The support services are getting more praise for jobs that are better planned. Our planning's more comprehensive now. We're certainly ahead of the game much more of the time than we have been previously, because I've involved them and I'm now working to their strengths and I'm using those to combat my own weaknesses, which is working quite well.
That sounds fabulous, because that really incorporates the three things that I left you with. One was the delegation, which you're talking about now. The other were the one-to-ones, when you've had those, and talking to people to find out from them the things that you could perhaps help them with and they could help you with. And the other one was saying no, and that sounds as if that one particularly was the easiest of them all, although, you didn't think it was going to be that way.
We found quite an easy way of doing it within the office that we share here, and that was actually locking the door at times when we've got a critical deadline to meet. As long as we post a notice on the door and let people know, please come back in an hour, then we know we've got an hour of undisturbed working time to actually concentrate on something.
So it sounds to me like what you've done there is what we'd call a workable compromise. That is to say that you are taking control of a situation. In other words, there are times when you actually do sometimes have to lock a door or make yourself scarce. You've negotiated it with other people so that as a team you can actually use the time productively, but not so much so that it frustrates other people.
Yeah, I've also changed my own mental deadlines on delegation as well. So I'm trying to work now a week ahead of where I was previously setting deadlines to give much more time for planning, much more time for them then to come back to me and to ask me, hey Matthew, I need to check this detail or that detail. And we've had some real notable successes. The school's presentation evening was planned a long way in advance. I've delegated all the jobs, and it meant that I could then go into actually hosting the presentation evening and standing up on the stage at 7 o'clock that night with a calm, cool head, rather than running up onto the stage like some sort of lunatic in the vain hope that it would all hang together somehow.
Well, it sounds, Matthew, as if you've taken on board those ideas and now it's a case of consolidating them, but also, as you get the benefit of those, not then perhaps, allowing yourself to run away with doing too many hours?
Well, that has been the temptation, because one of the things I have found, if I'm honest, is that actually my workload is now increasing in terms of hours, because I'm now able to pick up the stuff that focuses my attention for a long time period. Then I find myself looking up at the clock and thinking, it's getting on for 5:30, 5:45, I really need to get home and see the kids. I think I'm probably doing between 50, 55 hours a week. Last week I think it was almost up to 60 hours. We'll have to see whether that comes down.
Well, my guess is, Matthew, it won't if you don't take control of it again. I think you need to maybe be pacing yourself more on those projects. So it may be that what you need to do is to actually set yourself what I would consider a reasonable number of hours a week, and actually then look at how you pace yourself within that. And if a project takes a bit longer, it takes a bit longer, but it's better to take longer than have you burn out.
That's quite a good idea. If I know that I've actually got a reasonable amount of hours, I've set aside 10 hours to do this project. You know, I'm 5 hours in, therefore I need to be 50% of the way through the project, rather than concentrating on providing absolutely exemplary work. I think sometimes I need to remind myself that good enough is okay. I mean, clearly there are some things that need to be excellent, but I think I'm probably sensible enough to know which of those are.
I think so, Matthew. Well, Matthew, it's been a pleasure. And you never know, I might pop in again just to see how quiet it can really get round here. But anyway, good luck with it all.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I think by taking part in the programme, I've achieved what I wanted to achieve. I think it's really necessary for all people who work in schools to carve out that time to evaluate their work-life balance. All of us work really, really hard. All of us are passionate about what we do. But we actually put ourselves and our own needs to the bottom of the pile. For me, it wasn't just about saying, I'm overworked, I'm going to do less. It was about saying, okay, how many hours am I doing? And could I actually be doing more or being more productive during them?